Cashflow2go show with your host Matt McKeever and
Jeff Weibull.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Matt's back.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. So last week, I'm not sure how much they got into it, but I had the chicken pox. So
we didn't say anything.
Okay, yeah. So I had the chicken pox, so that's why I wasn't here last week. It's also why my channel was a little bit slower than usual, but
you had some good videos this week.
Yeah. But it hasn't been quite what I wanted.
Come on, guys.
But yeah, anyways, appreciate you guys tuning in again. 5:30, our usual time, our usual place, Fridays on my YouTube channel.
How many have we done now? But it's been 5:30 every Friday.
Yeah, I think we're getting up to actually like this got to be getting close to 10. That's
nice,
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
we're even like planning over the holidays right now, like how we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
we still got to figure out a little bit of that. I don't think next week's is going to be on Friday, but we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And just follow us on Instagram,
I think it'll be
Snapchat.
Thursday at 5:30.
Yeah, we're hoping Thursday 5:30, and
which is the 22nd.
Yeah.
All right. So write that down.
Yeah, put that in the calendar.
But yeah, follow all the socials. Follow the Cashflow2go show, the groups that we have on Facebook for your individual city. And if you don't know about that, we have London, Kitchener, Sarnia, Windsor, GTA.
Yeah.
And if those aren't your cities, hit us up. We'll make a group for you guys.
Yeah, we're definitely starting to see some traction too, which is really exciting. So starting to get some comments flowing in, and that's great.
Yeah. So basically, we have like a team leader in each city, pretty much. And some of our team leaders, we don't really have a real name for them, but the team leaders are asking us like, when are you gonna go do a meetup in Windsor, in Sarnia? And
so starting in 2018, we're gonna start kind of doing a bit of a roadshow, I guess you'd call it, right? We're going to be driving around Southwestern Ontario, hosting different meetups, Cashflow2go shows, as well as still constantly cranking out fantastic YouTube content for you guys. And so congrats to Jeff, who's past 450 now.
I'm right on 450, so if you're not subscribed to me, get me to 451.
Definitely jump over to YouTube/Jeff Weibull, and I think it'd be really cool if we could get Jeff to 500 subscribers before the end of the year.
I'm trying by Christmas.
And I think it'd be super cool if you guys got me to 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We're actually pretty close. So
you're at
4,600, you're at like 450, so like we're both, I think right now if you were to jump onto Social Blade, it looks like it's going to be a little too tight for both of us, but fingers crossed, we're trusting you guys will come through.
All our social followers out there, maybe.
So yeah, so if you're just jumping onto the live stream now, smash that like button. But one thing I kind of want to talk about before we start answering comments from the comment section, but feel free to jump into the comment section and ask your questions. Recently, I've been getting a lot of questions about kind of goals for 2018. A lot of people are starting to think about New Year's resolutions. It's kind of that time of year, right? And so often what I've been getting recently, I don't know about you, Jeff, but my inbox is getting flooded with, Matt, I think I found an amazing deal. What do you think? And then people just send me the MLS listing. And it's like,
Matt, do all my work.
That's kind of what it feels like sometimes, guys. And there honestly was a time when I was happy to jump in and really break down the analysis for you, but just the volume started to get to be too much, simply. But so I kind of thought I'd talk a little bit about how do you know if a real estate deal is a good deal. Recently, I did a video on my channel talking about setting SMART goals. And so what's really important about figuring out if a real estate deal is a good deal. So just kind of like explaining things. Let's say a property meets the 1% rule or better. Let's say, you know, it doesn't need a ton of work, or you're going to be able to burn and get all your money out. Theoretically, that sounds like a great deal. But if you don't have a long-term plan with what you're trying to accomplish with your real estate investing, it may not actually fit into your long-term plans, right? Like, if you're not planning to live in that city for the next 5 to 10 years, do you really want to be burning and buying income properties in that city? It makes it more difficult, and that's why so much about whether a real estate deal is truly a good deal for you in particular comes down to your particular situation. It's very situational, and so that's just one thing I kind of want to bring up in case if you're getting frustrated that I'm not giving you the answer you wanted when you send me that MLS listing. It's simply that I'm literally getting one MLS listing a day from someone that's asking me if it's a good deal and if they should buy it. And it's too much for me to consume. You know, I've documented how I analyze real estate and how I approach looking at properties. You know, me and Jeff have constantly shared with you on the Q&A sessions. So yeah, unfortunately, we just can't quite get into that level of detail.
And if you're out of our city and you're looking to pick Matt's brain, I'll help him out here. And maybe you're going to be doing some coaching in the future, potentially.
Yeah. So I've started talking to some people. If you want, in most of my video descriptions, I have an email address where you can send an email to. I was having some problems with it, but I think I got that sorted out now.
.com.
Yeah. I didn't understand that the entire internet was on the
How
World
does the
Wide
internet
Web.
work?
But yeah, so anyways, just kind of want to give you guys a little bit of that update. Otherwise, this Sunday, we got the Weibull Limo Tour coming up, guys. So, what number is this, Jeff?
7, I think.
Number 7, so lucky number 7.
And if you guys remember from our last Cashflow and Cashflow before, coming back from LA, where most of these emails are coming from now.
Yeah.
We decided we're going to be doing the Weibull Limo every single month in London, Ontario now.
Yeah.
Like clockwork.
So I think December's is pretty full at this point, but feel free to get ready, you know, start following Jeff on Facebook, join the London, Ontario Real Estate Investing Group, join London on Fire, and that way you'll be kept up to date for the moment we announce the January date, because there is kind of limited seating, right? It's a limo bus, but we can only get 20, 25 people on.
And let me discuss to any of the new people or the people that have been on it before. People have been on it before. A lot of times I get the question, like, are we seeing like a lot of good things on Sunday or next month? Yes, of course we are. I'm going to have some pocket listing stuff, but it's literally investing into our ecosystem that it's going to be more valuable later on. 2 weeks later, I might hit you up with another private deal just because like you've been talking to me.
Yeah, like it puts a name, like a face to the name, right? So like instead of just getting like a generic email, because I know Jeff gets a ton of these emails that's like, Jeff, I want the best deal possible in London. Can you give it to me? And if Jeff has never dealt with you before, that's a lot to ask, right? Because he doesn't know if you're qualified, he doesn't know if you're serious. Where the moment we kind of get to meet you in person, it gives us a much better understanding. You also get a better feel for us too. Maybe we're not the right guys for you. So that way, it kind of helps everyone. But I think the biggest takeaway is just the networking with other real estate investors and getting to kind of watch and see how they approach investing in property.
That's the best part of the day. Like we got Randomly Interesting over here doing our chat.
What's up, guys?
You've been on most.
Say hi to me in the chat, please.
Yeah, say hi to him. You've been on a few, and even like
absolutely.
And it's.
I'll be there Sunday.
Okay, and are you looking to buy? Maybe not, right? You still come on the tour.
There's a deal.
You're looking for the deal, but you're also looking, like you just see what's out there. A lot of guys haven't been out in a while, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, sweet,
That's why
just
I
a
like
refresher.
Yeah.
All right, and you might learn something about the code, the bylaws. Right?
And like, because the rules are constantly changing, whether it's financing or city related. So staying up to date with that, like, it's actually really difficult. So having a big network of investors is a great way to stay on top of it. You know, it's a lot to become a pure expert just by yourself.
Well, and there's like real estate programs like RAIN that are fantastic, and it costs a lot of money, right? And we're pretty much offering a really subsidized version of this, where you can talk to professional landlords in the city and come on the limo tour, and hopefully you find a good deal out there. And if it's not on that day, like Sunday night hits, we're not buying 8 properties that night. It's going to happen in the next month, 2 months, whatever. We're going to keep you in our ecosystem.
Actually, that being said, I think of like the last maybe 4 limo tours we've done, I think there's at least been 3 properties literally sold.
There was one on the last one where guys were fighting over it.
It was definitely a dibs moment.
Yeah, so, you know, that's fun. And the best part about our community so far, everybody backs off when it's time to back off.
Everyone's thinking big picture. No one's getting tunnel vision on that one deal. They're thinking about the next 10 deals.
Yeah, and I like, nobody's emotional. Like, numbers, it works. You know, they're not going to burn one bridge from the people you're going to see at our London on Fire meetups.
Because at the end of the day, you know, London's a city of, 350, 400,000 people. That makes it still a very small city. If you want to become a player in this real estate market, you can't afford to be burning those bridges.
You learn very quickly, everybody knows everybody who's doing something. Like, oh, that's this person's property. And like, you don't want to be, oh, I screwed him on this earlier, because it's just going to come around and bite you in the ass.
People have long memories. But so one thing we've been discussing about the Weibull Limo Tour is we've been thinking about maybe tweaking the format, at least for some of them in the future, and making them maybe more workshop oriented. So if you guys would be interested in that, where maybe instead of showing up at noon and then spending 4 hours on a limo and looking at properties, maybe you show up at like 8 or 9 a.m. and do maybe 2 to 3, 4 hours in a classroom setting where we're going to discuss how we approach and analyze a property. Then we jump into the field and do that 4 hours in the limo, drive around, then maybe go have dinner and kind of debrief and break out what's going on. So instead of like a 4 or 5 hour day, we're talking about maybe creating sort of like an 8, 10 hour day. So if you guys would be interested in that, definitely jump in the comment section and give us your feedback, or hit us up, DM us on Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever your favorite social media platform.
And we have some surprises for this Sunday, so we usually try to do something all the time.
Yeah, we spend most of today actually just cruising around the city, checking it out.
10 a.m. until everybody likes to ask too, like, oh, we got anything good? But they're asking me like 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
Property sell.
I thought we were going to have an amazing one for this Sunday, and it sold the
so,
day before we were trying to lock it down.
Stuff happens, but then it's a lot of networking and try to talking to other landlords, other realtors, and figuring it out.
One thing that just kind of came to mind, I think I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. So sometimes people come on Limo Tour and they're like, man, I want a big deal, I want something big, something juicy. Nudge this guy if you come on the Limo Tour this Sunday, and he might have a multi-million-dollar portfolio consisting of 30 to 40 units if that's your thing. So if you're looking for those big deals, we got some big deals in the chamber too.
Yeah, so again, it's what we talked about. We might be looking at this many properties, but you're also going to find out about all these other bonus things that I can't show on the tour.
Well, I think about half the properties we're viewing aren't even on the market, but then there's a ton more that are associated with those properties, right? We're like, this owner's going to let us check out this place, but he's also got this other one that he won't let us check out, but maybe we can drive by. And so that's where a lot of the value comes too, is just kind of being able to keep your fingers on the pulse of the market.
Perfect, yeah. And like, we're charging a small fee, and that might go up if we do the workshop.
Yeah, if we do the workshop, it'll be a completely different format.
But hopefully in this last 10, 15 minutes here talking about it, you guys are getting, like, it's not about the day's pay of the fee, like, which is only $40 right now to help cover the limo, which is $1,000 a day for me, right? So I would like you to be in my ecosystem and Matt's ecosystem, and then you're going to see these deals. I would rather give you the deal than the guy calling me from Toronto just being like, Jeff, do you have any good deals? Well, I don't have any relationship with that guy. I can't trust him very well because I don't know him, and I'd rather just give it to the people that I'm having a drink with at London on Fire or something like that, right? So.
Yeah, and actually, like, just kind of hearing you talk about the limo tour and kind of what it costs just made me realize we're really good at starting side hustles that don't make money. So, I started the Social Lab, both of our YouTube channels, and now the Weibull Limo Tour. Like, and this is honestly kind of a labor of love because we want to create an amazing community here in London, Ontario. Because you're the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. Yeah. We're always trying to level up.
And we've been early talks with me and you. We would rather give to you guys the Social Lab, the Weibull Limo Tour, and then it rewards us in the future.
Yeah, we know that if we put it out there, it's going to come back to us.
So many people, even in business in general, are so emotional on, like, I've done something, where do I get something back, right? And this is a long-term play. We're over almost a year and a half of doing this.
Yeah, it's actually crazy,
And it's like, should we monetize it now, So, randomly interesting is saying the price should go up,
Way up. The value is,
well, and then if there's people sitting at home being like, well, I won't pay that, and it's like, all right, won't come, right? So, eventually, like I'm kind of explaining why you're there. You're there to continue. And you don't have to come to all of them, obviously. Like, we're going to do them now monthly. So pick and choose. Maybe the next one you come on is March, right?
Yeah, so. And depending on the sort of feedback we get from people, we might consider kind of themes, right? Like, maybe we do a student rental.
Yeah, I definitely got a lot of people like, oh, there was a lot of student rentals on this one. Well, it was like like
it was
the time period where they're all for sale. You need to buy them. There's deals out there, so it's going to be very themed. And then most of the time, it's the core of the city. We could give me feedback. Maybe we'll have a flip one, and it'll just be all flips. And then
and actually, we're going to have a few more flips on this one.
So that's what we usually do. We put some multifamily on it, potential single family that could be rental, flipped properties, and then a bunch of bonus surprise, and then usually something within the city.
Yeah, and often we like to kind of show a case study too, right? Where we show an example of a deal that either one of us or someone in our network has been able to execute well on.
Yeah, like the one time Rob was on the tour, and we just took a left turn and went to one of his properties, and he talked us all through it, and everybody was like, wow,
Yeah.
It just shows you those opportunities. So if you're brand new to real estate investing, this is the easiest crash course to come on.
Absolutely. So just before we get too far into just talking about the Weibull Limo Tour, make sure you guys are jumping in the comment section asking us your real estate investing questions or your realtor questions, because we're more than happy to answer kind of whatever questions you got. And we've even been thinking about doing maybe some special themes on the Cashflow2go. So if you guys would be interested in us doing an episode on cryptocurrencies or stock investing or hard money lending or kind of whatever your fancy is, tell us.
That's the beauty. We didn't call this show like the real estate show.
Yeah.
It's literally just, even on the Facebook groups, it's like people interested in like money and real estate and whatever.
Investing.
It just keeps us so open to all the conversations. We'll get a Bitcoin expert on the show, right?
Yeah.
We'll get a stock expert. We'll get, bankers. We'll get mortgage brokers.
We're more than happy to learn along with you guys.
Yeah.
So
today we don't have a guest, but we're always looking into guests. So if you want to be a guest, let us know too.
Yeah, and if you got a suggestion for a guest, jump in the comment section.
Like Dan Warren had a great time last week.
We definitely need to get Dan back. I'm sad that I missed out on Dan.
Did you watch it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, like me and him just had pretty much a conversation the whole time. It was good. That was on my channel, if you guys, because Matt was sick. So
yeah.
How's it going over there?
It's good. We've got some people are filtering in. We're up to 16 people watching. We've got 8 likes.
Make sure you're smashing that like button. If there's 16 of you watching right now, I should at least have 16 likes, I think. So I know one suggestion we got maybe 2 weeks ago was to answer some older questions that maybe we didn't get around to answering before. Mm-hmm. So one question that I got on my YouTube channel this week was, I did a video a long time ago about a problem tenant I had. And someone was asking kind of what went on with that, were you able to settle that? And so in that video, I kind of described the 3 biggest mistakes I've ever made in my real estate investing career. And the one was investing into this professional tenant. You know what, truth be told, it's still a battle that's ongoing. It's very frustrating, but at the same time, the thing is, I forget what it was, but there was something you said earlier in the show that really triggered me to think about this, but, I haven't received rent from this tenant, and we're narrowing in on 6 months now. Went through multiple different eviction processes, and it's been a nightmare. But the thing is, it's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. I can weather this storm. I've built in these sort of contingencies into my plans. And thankfully, this isn't the only property I had. If it was the only property I had, then that would be very scary. But I have a whole portfolio, so this is just one hit among that entire portfolio. And so I guess that's something I just really wanted to, bring up, is that things don't always go perfect for us, but the thing is, you don't lose your cool. You stay calm, you stay collected. And so, for example, like this tenant, because I'm trying to evict them, decided to, cause trouble. So they started calling in a bunch of my properties and making up violations. And it's a big pain in the ass to have the city come out and check all your properties, and then for them to be like, I don't see the violation, what's going on? And you're just like, yeah, I don't know. And then, you install a brand new smoke detector, and you have a photo of it from 3 months ago, and then the tenant takes it down, hides it, and calls the fire inspector and tries to get you fined. And then the fire inspector's like, you didn't even take down the brand new harness. I can see that there was one just installed, and I can tell that it wasn't even painted because it's still raw drywall there. So you obviously took it down, and then they get threatened with the fine instead of myself. So it's one of those things that, I know some people, especially if it was your first property, you might get caught up in that petty war, right? Like, screw that tenant, they haven't paid me in 6 months, are you shitting me? I'm not going to take any more bullshit, I'm going to make their life hell, I'm going to war with them. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, no, I don't have the time or the energy. And I don't think that's good, as Paul would say, juju. I just don't think it's a good thing to be putting out into the world. And so I think it's much better to focus on the positive and be like, I'm going to eventually get rid of her.
Well, and that's awesome to hear you say, because if you're just focusing your energy on getting frustrated with her all day, are you making more money over here? Or are you just focusing on this, right? And I think that's because you have good systems in place now. You have this much for portfolio. If I told you about a deal and your energy was just on taking it out on this person, and it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything. A water damage in a different unit or something.
Sure, yeah. There's always going to be random shit that happens in real estate investing, and there's also always going to be random shit that's going to just happen in your life, right?
Yeah,
and so the same thing's true, right? You can focus on the negative, if, you were 15 minutes late for work this week because you had to shovel extra snow because fucking Canada.
We talked this, how many people, when one thing happens, then the second thing happens, then the third thing happens.
Yes.
And it's if you can just identify as a person to nip that in the butt, you're not going to get to the second and third.
Well,
it's just got a speeding ticket, and then I crashed the car after, and then I got out and I yelled at some whatever and
punched the guy.
Now my wife's mad at me. And
right. And the thing is that the one bad thing happened, and let's assume that was out of your control or a complete anomaly. But then what happens is you go on tilt, and the moment you're on tilt, then like you're not thinking straight, you know, you're ramped up, and you're not focusing on whatever's important. And like I know I've had the same thing too, right? Where like, you know, you're late or something, so you run late, but then that's the moment that you like, you know, hit the curb or you do this, that, or the other, or like, it's just
parking ticket.
It's much better to like pull over or whatever, like give yourself 5-10 minutes to just breathe, think it through,
and like
calm
even
down.
this week for me, a tenant messaged me a complaint text, and thankfully in a bad way, in a good way, like you get texts now, it's not a cold call, because I might bite right back on the cold call, and the text I'm like, and then like let's just, thank you for bringing this to my attention. Like, rather than being like, what are you talking about? Are you insane?
It's not forced air. How is there dust when there's no ductwork?
I got like, this is a health and safety concern, and hopefully you're watching. No, and
you
like,
know who you are.
Oh, okay. No, it's not a health and safety concern, but thank you for bringing this up to me. Yeah. And then I got my cleaner over there for $40 just to clean something.
Right, and it just goes away.
And they, okay, whatever.
We're like, and like, don't get me wrong, like, hopefully we're not coming off as if like we're holier than thou, we're perfect, because like, I remember my first rental property, me and my partners probably would have went to war over that $40 cleaning charge. But now, like, with time, with experience, with just
there's so much bigger things on the go, like losing money on the Weibull Limo tour.
Right,
focus on that.
The bigger ways to lose money, I'm gonna do those. So what are we saying?
Well, people are actually asking what's the best way to get on a limo tour. So I sent a link to your event and said to DM you is probably the best way to do it right now.
Yeah, we're pretty full, but the problem is like I'm not taking any upfront money right now, so people are calling in, kind of canceling, texting me like can't make it this Sunday, even though I booked. That's gonna happen. We've had 6 of them already. Sunday morning, somebody's like, "Oh, I forgot, I got a brunch to go to or whatever." So I usually just keep saying yes, and that'll bite me in the butt one day. But we might just do a follow.
Just make it work.
We'll make it work. We're real estate investors and realtors. There's no problem. So we'll do a follow car or something. You can be in the limo. Don't worry. We'll get my other people to be in the car. So I'll go in the car.
So there's always room for more. So jump over to the Facebook group or the Facebook event. You know, let us know that you're interested.
This Sunday, 11:30 at this office. We're at 440 Wellington, Unit 16. One London Place is right outside this window, and this is Wellington, and that's Queens Ave right here. Parking, it's Sunday, so park on the streets all around London. Don't park in like the condos and all that, because they'll get mad, and then in park you gotta pay. So just go find some street parking. It's 11:30. You'll probably just be battling the lunch. Sunday.
I don't think it'll be anything.
You'll find places everywhere. So.
And I think we got at least 9 properties actually.
9 properties, a lot of things we're going to drive by, check out. Get here early, chit chat with your fellow investors, get on the limo, have a great time. And then afterwards, we usually debrief. We're going to debrief at the Ale House.
Yeah, I think we're going to go to the Ale House. And actually talking too about coming early. Make sure you come extra early, because myself and Kellen are going to be here super early too, and we're going to be shooting a episode of the On Fire podcast. And we're hoping just to do like a 1 to 3 minute snippet of everyone that shows up early, and you'll just get a moment to jump on the podcast, maybe share a tip or a trick or a life hack towards whatever you kind of want. So
it's like everything we're doing is just like so many trickles of everything. We got podcasts, we got YouTube shows, we got limo tours, we got social labs.
We got someone about to hit 10,000 on the Instagram.
Maybe. If you're not following me on Instagram, I'm 700 away or something.
That's awesome.
I'm there. And the importance, I'm going to do like a YouTube video on it, but the importance of 10,000 is you get a swipe up function. Like you can have it on Snapchat right now, but on your Instagram, you get a swipe up. So I could be like, make sure you guys check out the limo tour, swipe up for the events page. And if you swipe up, it goes right to Facebook. That's very powerful long term for
you want to make it easy for people to get there, right? Exactly. Like to get to that web page, where instead of having to say link in bio, you know, that's one extra step. They gotta go over to your bio, they gotta click the link.
What does he want to do?
Right on, guys. Well, we've got a couple questions. It's been a bit quiet, but we've got 18 viewers now, 13 likes, so that's trending upward. The first question is from Nick. What do you guys think about investing in condos near colleges and renting them to students?
So we definitely have an ecosystem of that in London, Ontario. So near Fanshawe, you know, all along Second and Third Street, there's all kinds of these condos, and so they're very similar in nature. And even First Street has one too, but they're a little bit higher end on First Street. But there's a lot of side-by-side condos. So what these are really just row townhouses, and usually it's a 3-bed upstairs with a bath, maybe a half bath on the main floor, kitchen, living, eat-in, dining room, and then unfinished basement that often someone will try and put another bedroom in. They're interesting. What
I would say do your due diligence on the condo board's rules, because I've seen where it says the words no student rental, but then you talk to the property manager and they're like, oh, of course you can do it. There's 3 of them in this complex. Well, that's great
for today
until somebody decides to care one day, right?
So buy enough that you can control the board.
There you go. So yeah, and if not, make sure it's potentially cash flowing with just a family in there before you're trying to grind out every bedroom at $500 a bedroom or something like that.
But like, I was joking there about trying to control the board, but you should actually, if you want to use it as a student rental, like, you should probably try and talk to some of the board members, right, that are on that condo board to find out which way the wind is blowing, right? Are they weeks away from passing a new bylaw for that condo board that's going to ban student rentals? Because maybe there's a way you can fight it, but you really want to take on that battle. But at the same time, we do know lots of investors that currently invest by Fanshawe in condo or row townhouses.
And that should be said, not just student rental condos, but any condo. Call the corporation, try to get the minutes of the last meetings, try to figure out everything, because maybe those condo fees are going up next year, and that's the reason why everybody's selling, because they're putting a new roof on there. Like, look at the Jack's Way condos up at Masonville. Jack's Way? And they're putting that facades on it and balconies. Everybody's got their place up for sale because it sounds like the condo fees are going up crazy.
Well, there probably was a special assessment plus higher fees.
So everybody that was getting university tenants in there, it looked good on paper. Fast forward 1 year, now everybody's selling because they can't make money, right? So.
And so that's really important too. So let's say you do end up buying a condo unit to rent, and honestly, whether it's for student rentals or just regular rentals, really stay informed about what's going on that condo board. Because at the same time, even if you're just going to buy for your personal residence buying a condo, I used to be in public accounting and an auditor, and so like I used to audit some condo boards, and like I can remember auditing one that was insolvent. The moment that board goes insolvent, the moment that condo goes insolvent, it becomes extremely difficult to sell that property because no lender wants to lend on an insolvent property because who knows what that special assessment is going to be. It could be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And now, while they may not hit you all up front for it, they may be able to like help you finance it or give you certain like payment options. It's still going to drastically impact your bottom line. And whether that's your personal bottom line or your income property bottom line or your student rental property line, just far too many people don't understand condo boards and don't understand the power that they have over there and over your investment. So make sure that you get knowledgeable about that stuff. Do you know much about, is there many condos by Western that I'm not nearly as familiar?
I think it's more up Richmond and then the downtown stuff that actually
like
has
on Kent, like the
buildings, right at 695 Richmond. It's got a lot people. Toronto investors buy it for their kids that are going to school there. And then north by the mall, but I don't think like right on the strip. And I don't think
I forgot the mall ones.
That's the Jackson Way.
Oh,
or Jack's Way.
No, by Masonville Mall.
Masonville.
So, I thought you meant Cherry Hill because there's a bunch by Cherry Hill too.
I was talking about Masonville.
Yeah. But now I'm talking about Cherry Hills.
Then. Are those condos or are those apartment buildings?
There's some that are condos.
So it would be similar. So I don't think there's anything west of the university, like right up by like Sarnia.
No, not to my knowledge, but
so it's all houses.
I'm less Western oriented, but I'd be interested if anyone's investing in condos for student rentals. Jump in the comment section and give us your feedback because we're always happy to learn.
And it's we talked about it for one of my investors. It's a simple solution.
Yeah.
For brand new.
Under the right set of circumstances, I think it can be great. Yes. It takes a certain approach. It's a different approach than the approach that I'm used to implementing.
Exactly.
Awesome, guys. Okay, let's move on. We've got a question from Moto Edge Motorsports. What are your thoughts on all these London multifamily homes zoned R2 and have 3 units?
So I don't.
Good landlord.
That's how you maximize the value of your property.
Those may or may not be my listings right now. Thank you very much.
So I think, and it definitely goes beyond just like triplexes in certain zones. It's everywhere, right? Like you can find R1 zoning that has triplexes and fourplexes. You can find R2s that have fourplexes, R3s that have sixplexes. Like there's all sorts of weird things going on. I think what really comes down to is you really need to understand the implications, right?
How do you think it started? Was it the Matt McKeever types who's like, I'm just gonna live in my basement, owner occupied, and
potentially, but I think also there was just a time when there wasn't really rules,
right?
And so people just built it, and then like rules kept cropping up, right. And it never was it was always complaint driven, right? So the city wasn't actively trying to enforce, it was only complaints that were driving it. In the last few years, particularly in the last year to year and a half, we've seen a huge drive or push from the city that's focused on active enforcement rather than like complaint driven enforcement. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's something that, had you asked me that question 5 years ago, I would be far less concerned than I am today. These days I like to try and be as above board as possible, just because who wants that headache and that potential exposure and risk? That being said, like, is there a way that you can maybe approach that property slightly differently? So, for example, recently I bought what was like an illegal boarding house essentially here in the city, and with a partner, and we converted it into a duplex, but it was such a massive property that even a duplex really didn't make sense. So the back of the property, we kind of built it so that, let's say, maybe a mixed family or a multi-generational family all wants to live under the same roof. It would kind of allow for that. Mm-hmm. So that was another consideration. So instead we were able to take this illegal 9 + 2, it would have been like an illegal 11-room boarding house, and convert it into a nice duplex that would allow, multi-family or
you give yourself options in case stuff happens, right?
So I think that that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that figure out, let's say you decide to buy that triplex that's illegally a triplex, just make sure, if you decide to continue operating it as that way, and I'm not suggesting you do that, but if you decide to go that route, make sure you have different contingencies or exit plans. Mm-hmm. I would hate for it to be, this deal barely works, but it works as a triplex, so it's good enough. Right. And then you get blown out of the water the moment the city comes in and says, bro, that's a duplex.
And like, maybe I go to all the wrong spots in the city, but none of them seem to. All these things when I was first starting out as an investor, here's half my phone calls. Hi Jeff, does it have a rental license? Oh God, no. Like, is that a unit legal? Nope. Like, everything. Like, what's the zoning? Well, it's the zoning. Well, why is there 3 units? There's 3 units. Like,
yeah.
So, is there the perfect places out there? There might be, and they're really expensive.
But so let's say you see that triplex that's in an illegal zone. That's a negotiating point.
Yes.
Don't just like bring it up to your real estate agent, bring it up to their agent, or bring it up to the listing agent directly and say, look, we've done our homework.
I'm offering you this because,
yeah,
as you know, your property is illegal. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to take on this liability, and then maybe that you've just saved yourself $30,000-$40,000 maybe because of this. You might have scared the seller now, mm-hmm, and then maybe your first steps are to evict and then turn it into a nice duplex.
Yeah, and make it conforming.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, opportunity.
Yeah. So, yeah, problems or profits, you choose.
All right, we got a question from Kellen.
Who?
Kellen.
Yeah.
I think I know who that is.
He'll be on the Limo tour and on the podcast coming up.
That's right?
All right.
What are the steps to take in order to move from 2 to 4 units to 10 to 20 units? So how do you 10x your game, I guess, or maybe 5x it?
Well, in order to transition, obviously you need to become more aware there is a difference in kind, right? Once you start moving from a 4-plex to, say, a 6-plex or larger, particularly with financing, depending on your exact region, like your municipality, it could also change drastically. So the regulation in London is drastically different for a 4-plex versus a 6-plex or larger. Borrowers are going to treat you significantly different. As well, you're going to inherently incur a lot more cost with a larger building, but the idea is that larger building offsets it by being more efficient by only having one roof, usually one heating system. So how do you actually start doing it? You're going to need access to a lot more capital.
And you didn't really say it, but are we keeping the other ones, or are you telling Jeff Weibull to sell your portfolio?
So what's interesting, what Jeff is kind of saying there is, in the U.S. they have what's called the 1031 exchange, and you could use that to kind of take your fourplex that was a good idea 4 years ago, but maybe isn't today, sell it, take those proceeds, and reinvest it into a larger unit, and do that with a tax-deferred approach. So you're not going to have to pay any capital gains on the sale of that fourplex, assuming that you had capital gains on that property. In Canada, we don't have that available to us, that sort of approach to deferring it from taxes. So essentially, we're at that stage right now, right? The largest property I own technically is a 14-unit building, but it's really very small bachelor apartments. And beyond that, the next is a couple of sixplexes, and then a bunch of triplexes, a fourplex, that sort of thing. So I'm definitely at that stage as well. And so, mid this year, we started trying to reverse engineer how we'd actually go about approaching and becoming Grant Cardone instead of Bigger Pockets type idea, right? And
I think it's nice, Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
We won't yell at you. So.
Yeah, way less yelling.
And we're not pitching you anything. So.
Yeah. Never buy one of anything, or never depend on one of anything
15
for anything.
units, are you stupid? Push that to 16.
But so, yeah, we kind of broke it down, and we looked at it and we said, look, we already have our portfolios, and we kind of like the properties we have. We don't necessarily want to divest the properties we have. So how can we go about acquiring these much larger assets without having to sell off our properties and say take profits and invest those profits into this larger project? So, we decided we have to become the experts. So we need to become the experts. We need to be able to present people with a perfect opportunity or the perfect deal, and then they bring the money. So, honestly, our approach is going to be very similar to what we've been doing with these smaller units. We want to start burning large multifamily properties, and in order to do that, we need large money partners. So the first thing we did, start making a giant list. Who do you know that's got money that may lend it to you? And maybe they don't want to lend it to you today, but it's important that you stay in contact with them, because a year from now, once they see you execute on the first deal or the second deal, or maybe 3 years from now, it's actually kind of funny. I had the chicken pox over this weekend as well, so I missed a family Christmas. And a couple of family members that had never shown an interest at all in my real estate investing were saying to my parents, like, oh, we were really hoping Matt was going to be here so we could talk to him about real estate investing. We really want to start getting into that. And that was pretty cool, to be honest. They'd never been interested. And so, who knows what sort of money they have available, but that's something that by simply me every now and then talking about what's going on in my real estate investing career made them aware of it. And so I think you just need to and I guess I'm coming from the assumption that you don't have the capital to just go buy the property today. If you have the money to go buy the property today, it's not that much different. You need to be careful with certain things like, what's the thing where you gotta do the studies on the dirt and stuff?
Environmental.
Yeah, so if you're getting into environmentals and stuff, make sure you really understand the minutia behind that.
And those are expensive.
They can escalate fast. I forget whether it's is it phase 2 is when it starts getting, it's a whole thing.
It's 3 phases. Maybe we'll cover that in a video or something.
3 speeds. But yeah, so that's, my assumption is that you don't have the money today, so you're going to need to find money partners.
It's all your rich people you know in Sault Ste. Marie. So.
Yeah.
that are seeing your portfolio in London right now.
Yeah, all that nickel money, right?
Yeah. The paper factory up there too.
Oh yeah. So yeah, hopefully that helps. There's no, same with buying your first duplex. There's no perfect approach to it. You just need to do your research, be confident in your numbers, build a good team around you that you can trust, and then go execute.
Awesome. All right, we've got a few other questions here queued up still. So
nice.
Nick wants to know, how much money did each of you use on your first real estate investment, and how did you save up the money to put down on your first deal?
My first one was a pretty much easy numbers, $50,000 down payment. It was a triplex, so it was owner occupied at 10% down. That's what I was able to do. Because remember, tri and fourplex, 10% down, single and duplex, 5% down for owner occupied in Ontario. Won't really speak to the rest. Maybe there's different rules. But how I saved up was when I deployed with the Army, and I was able to save all that money. So
And so, like, the way you were able to save so much money, because a lot of other guys that were on deployment didn't come back with that 50 grand.
Exactly. Like, while I'm on deployment, I deployed to make money, not to spend money. A lot of guys spent their money, or when they came home, they bought a big truck. Well, let's ask, I'm sure they're not in the chat, because you guys are the smart ones trying to learn about money. They bought a truck, which is probably rusted and crashed and whatever right now, and maybe they're on to the next truck, I'm not sure. Or they had to go back on deployment to pay for the toys that they bought. I saw that a lot.
Yeah.
They bought they rented an expensive condo, and then they bought a big BMW trucks, and then they it's almost like keeping up with that lifestyle, right? I didn't. First thing, came home and bought the triplex, had no furniture.
Well, I remember you talking about, like, you had 2 folding lawn chairs,
I had lawn chairs going forever, like, and until I got handy down couch from my cousin, which after 3 years I helped the garbage man put it in the garbage and saw it get crunched. My wife hated that, but I was like, whatever. I was half doing the student thing that I never got to do as a kid. I never. Even when I went to college, I was at home, so I never got the student life. So I felt living in the triplex with all the students. I was like a rock star. I'm the owner, and so that's how I saved. The army is how I saved all my money.
Yeah, and so the way I approached buying my first property and saving up for it, I'll tell you right after I tell you to smash that like button. Go and share this video right now on social media, because we're only at how many concurrents?
26.
Oh, we're at 26, guys. Actually, 27. Get like 27 now. Actually, that's making my day. Let's share a few more times right now, and otherwise subscribe if you're not subscribed. But so I bought my very first property when I was 25. It was for, I believe, $173,000. I put down roughly, I think, 15%. Such an arbitrary amount. I shouldn't have put it. Was stupid. I wish
it's your first ones.
I just didn't know any better.
You get in. And whatever.
No. Yeah. And don't worry about doing it perfect your first time, because you're not going to, and it's a waste of time trying to do it perfectly. But so I put 15% down, and the way I did that was by being crazy frugal, just like Jeff was. So essentially, what I did was
I was frugal.
Like, on a Friday or Saturday night when we were going out, what going out looked like was me bringing over a case of James Reddy to my buddy Dave's and Joe's, and us cranking James Reddy, and then going to the bar, walking to the bar usually, and it didn't matter how far you had to walk, and whether it was winter or summer, didn't matter, you were walking. And then you'd walk to the bar, and you'd maybe buy 1 beer, maybe 2 if you drank too much before and you were getting spendy. And then you would walk home. Maybe you would stop at Stobie's and buy way too expensive slice of pizza, but you guys.
Well, let me tell you, when I was going to college, the class would always go out on Thursday night. I'll date myself to GTs.
That's dangerous.
And it had to go Thursday night. But military training nights were Thursdays, but all the class was going. So they started probably pre-drinking at like 7. They get there for 10 or something like that. Well, there was a thing back, I don't even know what the equivalent would be now, probably following them on Snapchat, but you could sign up for Skip the Line, and I had to print out a piece of paper and show up with that. I would go to training, I would make my money for the night, all my classmates would be hammered, I'd show up, they'd be like, hey, Weibull, what's up? And then I'd buy like 1 drink, and then like, I showed my face, and I didn't have to spend, and I made money that night, and like this is how I kind of like in my youth. I always I was working like every weekend I could, making the money while going to school. All these guys were just spending their OSAPs or whatever you get. Like I never had that.
Yeah, and so like I guess just to rather instead of just giving you some anecdotal evidence or stories, essentially what I did was I don't think I've ever spent more than 50% of what I earned ever.
I used to joke that they say, "Oh, how'd you save this much money?" I said, "Well, you haven't read my book. It's called Don't Spend 10 if you make 5." So it's one word, one sentence.
Yeah. So seriously, like just save as much as possible. And honestly, I think the point of these stories is you can still get almost the exact same lifestyle or experiences at a fraction of the cost, right? Like even recently, like let's take a look at our LA trip. How much does a 1-week trip to LA cost? It costs as much or almost as little as you want, Airfare, we paid $550 because we left like middle of the week, came back middle of the week when it's not busy. We,
And like if you actually think about that, like, oh, can you fly me to Los Angeles for $250? You can't even get a taxi cab for like $40 across the city.
You couldn't get to Toronto for that.
Right, yeah. And like, so that's how we like, oh, we're just gonna take a taxi to LA, plane, $250, and then Graham graciously gave us
let us couch surf.
We grocery shopped.
Yeah, and instead of eating out every night, the first day we were in LA, we went grocery shopping.
Oh, how are all the restaurants? I'm like, do we even need a restaurant?
We ate a food truck.
Food truck, yeah. Free food truck.
So honestly, like, it's just about trying to find similar experiences but at a fraction of the cost. And that's where we saved a lot of our money. Otherwise, before you bought your first house, you lived at home?
Yes.
And before I bought my first house, I lived at home. Yeah. And, I'm not saying that you need to mooch off of your parents, but there's a way where you can still find a win-win. Like, maybe you start chipping in for groceries or utilities or whatever it is that's going to make it help. Maybe it's you helping out on the farm or doing X, Y, Z. It doesn't really matter, but find a win-win. Don't make the assumption that your parents have to put you up, but don't make the assumption that the moment you graduate university, college, or high school, that you immediately have to go out and get your own pad.
I think most people these days move back home after university.
The scary thing is, though, they don't save the way they should.
Right, yeah.
So, like...
they might get a good job, but then they go on the shopping sprees and buy all these things. Yeah, that's great when you don't have a mortgage, and everybody can buy nice clothes when you're full-time employed at some bank, but you live at home now, and you don't have, my expenses are low, but then you're just never going to get out of that, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
What are we saying for other questions?
We've got some more questions here. So, question from someone here. I live in Vancouver, but the properties that you guys are talking about in London, Ontario just aren't feasible here due to the high prices. What are your guys' thoughts on
your money?
What are your thoughts on investing in remote locations and using property management companies to manage them?
So I know you always talk about the 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
So definitely study Chilliwack or wherever. Don't stay out of Victoria probably, but maybe even further. Like, you study different cities in Canada. Find an expert. Maybe it is over here with us in London, Ontario. Maybe it's in Calgary. Maybe it's in Edmonton. Fly there. Check it out. Start corresponding with other people. The internet's there now. Find a real estate. How many times have we gone to Sarnia? Not too often, but if we had a Sarnia question, we know who to ask. Right away, right? So.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And so, what Jeff was saying about that 4-hour drive, it's a common theme on Bigger Pockets, and I agree with it, that pretty much no matter where you are in continental North America, within a 4-hour drive of where you live, I bet that there is properties that meet the 1% rule or are close enough that you can cash flow. So that's just something to take into consideration. But beyond that, like what Jeff was saying, with the internet now, it is so easy to be connected, right? So let's say you decide that you do want to start investing in Sarnia, Ontario, or London, Ontario, or Windsor, Ontario, and you're way out in BC. First thing you can do is Google Street View. Walk around the city on Google Street View, right? Start pulling up the different maps and satellite images that you can do from Google. You can learn a lot about a city in a very short period of time now, thanks to the internet, and having never even set foot.
And how much do you, when the problems come up even in our own city, do you physically go to the property?
Yeah, and so that's a fantastic point. When I started investing in real estate, definitely, I was the guy, me or my partners handled all the problems. But at this point now, pretty much we're always doing everything just remotely by phone anyways. So if you decided to kind of self-manage your property, in London, Ontario from BC, that's not impossible as long as you had a good, reliable handyman or a good, reliable, property manager assistant, right? That sort of situation. They definitely can be found. But again, having a big network in London, Ontario, or Sarnia, Ontario, or Winnipeg, or Calgary, or wherever you want to invest is really important, because that way you can lean on them when an emergency does come up.
So they commented here that they were thinking Prince George, which looks like it's about an 8.5-hour drive from Vancouver. Okay. But they were also thinking Chilliwack, which is about an hour and 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
So maybe that makes more sense for a first-time investor.
Yeah.
Somewhere closer.
You might feel more comfortable.
If all things were equal, if let's say 2 identical properties, one's an 8-hour drive from where I live and one's an hour and a half.
You pick the 8-hour every time.
Because I love to drive. Just Canadian winter driving so much fun that I can't miss out on that opportunity.
Probably a beautiful drive in BC.
Right? Yeah, maybe.
Unlike Ontario.
But so personally I would choose the closer to home one, But maybe you grew up in the 8-hour drive city, so maybe you know that city better. So that's something to consider. Maybe you have a network there. Maybe your best friends are there, or you went to college there.
Yeah.
So take all those factors, aggregate it, and then figure out what's going to fit best for your long-term plan too.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you figured out, are you going to keep buying in that market, or are you just buying there now because you can't afford in Vancouver, but once you can afford, you want to start buying in Van?
And like one of my buddy's dads lives in Calgary and he owns London, Ontario properties, and it's just putting ads in our Kijiji and he has a property manager and he phones him and does debriefs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He might as well live in an hour drive from here. He doesn't want to drive down the road, right?
And so alternatively from investing out of town, out of market, you can also always use like turnkey providers, right? So turnkey providers are companies that will literally assist you every step of the way and often then manage the property afterwards for you. Not every turnkey company is created equally, so if you are going to get into turnkeys, be very selective about who you do business with. And then alternatively, not everyone has to invest directly in real estate. There's other ways that you can make money in real estate as well. So whether that's hard money lending, whether that's becoming a real estate agent and making commission, whether that's investing in a REIT, right? So real estate investment trust, that can also be another great approach. And frequently you can find REITs that have really good distribution rates, anywhere from probably 5 to close to 10%. So that's another alternative if, say, the idea of investing out of town or out of state or out of province is unpalatable to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if there was a great opportunity across the country and it was a joint venture.
Yeah,
and they
joint
were,
ventures are
right. I think I would feel even more comfortable doing it because you just really read the numbers, they handle everything, and you're just investing your money.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of our longtime viewers know this, but like Jeff owns a property in Calgary.
Yeah, didn't mention on this show, but yeah. So I own a property in Calgary. And I don't know what's going on, but I get a report annually, and I get a check every month. So.
Yeah.
Not that I couldn't know what's going on, I just choose to not because it's easy. It's a duplex and they're like the perfect tenants and they would let us know if there's any problems. So got lucky on that one. So also like you could have a good tenant who is your property manager across the country and they could be the person that does the grass, that does the shoveling, and maybe they're on the ball to tell you if there's any issues. And then when there's an issue, you just call the local plumber or the local electrician or whatever, and they come over. So maybe you don't have a property manager, you don't need one across the country.
Yeah, there's all kinds of solutions.
Or like
that's for
if
sure.
you're huge, like you could have live-in supers,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you're buying, or if you want to buy that big portfolio we teased about at the beginning. So
yeah, that way you just get a full-time employee or two doing it for you.
You just collect money every month.
Awesome. Okay, so it's about 25 after. I've got like 3 questions queued up. If we
Let's
want
just
to
keep.
go.
I'm going to keep going.
Do you want to drink
Alright.
anything, or?
No, I'm good for now. But smash that like button if you haven't, and keep sharing it while we keep answering.
23 viewers, 23 likes right now. So.
Thanks, guys.
Wow.
We got a question from Robert. He's actually had a few, and I'll kind of try and summarize them. But basically, he's looking for advice on where he should get his mortgage from. So he wants to know, for a first-time investor, is it better to look at the big banks, local banks, credit unions? And then he also wanted to know, is it true that some big banks might be scared with dealing with a first-time lender in case they might panic or like might not be able to do some sort of refi job apparently very well? I've never heard that rumor.
So I guess I'll jump into it. So, first based off of my experience, I've only ever used traditional lenders, and so traditional lending, that refers to the big banks here in Canada. So that's what I'm most familiar with. Usually the reason people are going to want to use big banks is, first of all, it's just something you're more familiar and comfortable with. Secondly, usually you're going to get the most competitive interest rate through the big banks. And thirdly, if you're kind of a first-time investor or a new investor, these big banks have a lot of strict limitations now on the size and the number of properties you can own. However, if you own 0 properties or only 1, they're not going to be nearly as concerned. Whereas once you get into B and C and private lenders, your interest rates are going to go up significantly. You're probably going to start paying a lot of more costs out of pocket. So when you get that appraisal done with a big bank, the big bank usually eats that cost. Where if you do it with a B, C, or hard money guy, they're going to be the ones that they may incur the cost, but then they're going to bill you back for it. Same with, you're probably going to incur more legal costs if you go the non-traditional lender route. So those are just things to consider. All things being equal, if you can use a big bank, I would consider using them. Alternatively, you know, local credit unions are great too. And again, we're talking from the Canadian perspective. So if you're in the U.S., Robert, things are going to be a lot different because the U.S. has a lot more like local banks, and you can develop much more personal relationships with those local banks and those local credit unions, and that's really important. Based on this is honestly, I've never bought or sold in the U.S. This is based off of just tons of reading, tons of listening to Bigger Pockets and all that. What are your thoughts, Jeff?
And I'll just say also, if you're going for mortgage brokers, they work on the weekends, so and they seem to be more open to crazier deals and trying to figure it out. Sometimes I feel the banks just
the right mortgage broker.
The right mortgage broker, and the probably more experienced ones, because sometimes the banks just stop working on Friday night at 5, and we still need an answer. So I like mortgage brokers. Sometimes mortgage brokers also, and maybe the banks do this as well, but they will kind of like you're talking about the relationships. They're going to talk about, well, like, yes, this property is a problem, but look at his whole portfolio. This is what this guy does, or something, and they'll try to build a story to get approval. I've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So they just go beyond the numbers sometimes, and I think that's key. That starts with, I think you can go right back to the beginning of the question and just say build a relationship with either your banker or your mortgage broker.
Yeah, that's honestly the biggest thing, is building a relationship with whoever's going to be giving you access to money. Because like my personal experience has been, bankers have always been much more willing to go to bat for me than mortgage brokers. I've always had very frustrating experiences with mortgage brokers, whereas other investors mainly use mortgage brokers because they've had frustrating experiences with the banks. And that's probably just situation oriented, right? I don't think that there's a clear-cut answer. The thing with a mortgage broker though, just to clear out for anyone that's really new to real estate investing, a mortgage broker may still use a big bank, they may use a B lender, they may use a C lender, or hand you off to a hard money person. So what's interesting about that is, let's say your situation is maybe a bit more unique, maybe you're self-employed, maybe you've had some debt issues in the past. I think the right mortgage broker maybe will have a greater set of resources to lend you. So
cool. We want to do one more?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So we've got a question, and you guys might have to speculate here a bit, but how do you guys feel about foreign investment going into 2018 and affecting Ontario market? Is it going to be similar to a Vancouver?
I think you really identify what is foreign investment. Is it literally somebody in, we'll say, China buying from China, or are we talking about a Canadian citizen who's a Chinese person buying here? Because that's what everyone kind of thought was happening. Oh, China's buying all of Toronto and Vancouver, but they're technically Canadian citizens that are buying it. Maybe they got the money in, but they had to go through all the proper stages in order for those, well, allegedly, to purchase those properties. Obviously, Ontario's been putting a lot of rules. We're going to get the mortgage rules in January 1st again.
Well, I'm pretty sure, and I should know this, but I just don't invest in the GTA. But didn't the GTA implement a new fee or property tax or like land transfer or something? Yeah, right.
All the way up to Waterloo.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, these things seem to happen every 3 months since I've been in the real estate agent game, and nobody talks about what the other enforcement that happened so many times ago. What happens, guys? Everybody just gets on with the game. These are the rules of the game.
Yeah.
You're playing sports, and these are the rules. And in the next year's 2018 hockey season, the real call is if you do call a coach's challenge on the offside, you get a penalty now. You know that wasn't NHL last year. You know, same thing with real estate. They're always changing it. We're playing the game. Learn the rules and know how to exploit them.
So with that being said, you know, the idea. Is he still a thing?
He's still a thing.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
They got a lot of light on him.
Yeah,
they're holding him up. So.
I assume there's just a power pack in the back. But so with foreign buyers, what I'd be curious about, because I know a lot of people do get concerned about foreign buyers. Where are your concerns stemming from, or is this more of a play? You know, are people thinking that foreign buyers are now going to flock to Ontario, so they're going to drive up our asset prices, so I want to get in before the foreign investor does, so I can reap that appreciation reward? Or is the argument that they're making it unaffordable, or kind of what's the concern? Because I mainly look at foreign investors the same as local investors. They're just competition, you know, like, and you just have to adapt, right? Like, because at the same time, we could call foreign investors to London, Ontario, right? Like these GTA, these foreign investors, they're coming down the 401 highway and investing in that city.
I know the Premier, Kathleen Wynne, was all concerned about a couple, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, they couldn't afford a house.
Yeah.
It's like, should they be able to afford a house?
Like, I don't think people have the right. Yeah, I don't think
because
it's a fundamental right.
Because these businessmen are buying condos in the GTA and holding them vacant like stocks. This is a problem because Canadians now can't purchase a condo.
Mm-hmm.
What is it a right to buy that condo, or is it a right for this guy to make money on the condo? So she's obviously appealing to the voters, who are just like, I can't buy a house,
mm-hmm.
and then they're the people that are going to vote versus the foreign money that can't vote if it's really foreign.
Yeah. I honestly like, and so I think kind of what Jeff's building up to is, I do think that a lot of people, or at least some people, are using it as a scapegoat or as like a straw man argument. At the end of the day, just do your thing. Does the property you want to invest in, does it look good on paper? Does it cash flow? Does it meet the metrics you set out? If so, pull the trigger, execute, move on. Don't worry about the noise in the market. You know, we can stress out all day about whether Canada's in a housing bubble, right?
And like some guy messaged me on, and you don't know the name, I won't say it, but on WhatsApp, thought you might like this, and it was like the Canada housing stats have dipped for the third month in a row or something.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares about the Canada housing stats?
Yeah.
Focus on your city.
Yeah. And honestly, like, depending on your city, you might even have to focus even more narrowly. Narrowly.
Yeah, because our stats might come out all the way to St. Thomas.
Right.
Is that relevant to me and you? No.
Yeah.
Right?
St. Thomas is a completely different ecosystem.
We don't really care about that. About when we're just studying London.
Yeah, exactly. So
don't listen to the noise of like, oh, look at the Canadian market went down real estate wise. Well, great. Halifax had a bad time.
Yeah. So. And just make sure that like you have contingencies, exit plans, multiple options. As long as you have multiple options, you're fine. Yeah. If you're buying that condo in downtown GTA or Vancouver, and the play is pure appreciation, and you're renting it out for $1,000 or $2,000, and it costs you $800,000 for that condo. First of all, you made a mistake. Secondly, you know, you don't have a lot of exit. Yeah, should have bought two. That was the mistake. You don't have a lot of exit options, right? Mm-hmm. You pretty much need to find a greater fool and sell it to them because there's no cash flow argument. There's no true investment argument. No. It's pure speculation, pure appreciation play. And I think that is dangerous. So if you're wondering about whether foreign investors are going to flock to Canada, particularly Ontario, and drive up our asset-based price, and use that as a play in order to earn yourself more money or more appreciation, I think that that's a big gamble.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say, no foreign investors are going to get any of the Weibull Limo tour properties this Sunday. It's all going to be, like literally, just joking, but like, there's not really a foreign guy sitting in China buying this house on Richmond Street.
I don't think so.
You know what I mean? Queens Ave, anything. So like, it's always like, I think maybe Toronto, the condos, that's why they're a little... Like there's a crane up in Toronto every time I go there.
Well, like,
every
I don't know if it's still true, but like maybe 18 months, 24 months ago, Toronto was the crane capital of North America. We had the highest density of cranes per capita or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, it's crazy out there, but just make money.
Making money.
So what are we saying? Should we wrap up?
I mean, like, there's maybe one good question, good segue while you guys are kind of speculating on future markets. Someone was wondering, you know, what do you think the London Ontario market is going to be like in 2018?
Yeah. So speculating a bit on gut and a bit on just what I've seen. I think we'll have. I don't know if it'll be as hot as it was last summer, but I definitely think it's going to heat up again. March, April, all the way through the summer again. With all the after like they get the 90 days of learning the new mortgage rules, and then we just like hit the ground running again because maybe they're tight now. Everybody that could afford up to here is pushed back, and there's gonna be more competition to buy all these other houses now. So
I've spent a lot of time looking into my crystal ball here, and based on what I've seen, in the
army they say I got 2 balls, none of them are crystal.
I like that. And so. To be honest, I thought the market would have already cooled off more than it has. I can see 2 main driving factors towards that. The one is we've honestly just had great weather up until this week. We just had amazing weather, which meant people, lots of home buyers, lots of first-time buyers, a lot of upgraders, they don't necessarily want to trudge through feet of snow in order to go look at properties.
There wasn't a relatively affordable property that one of my investors was looking to get, and if you're watching. And he was saying, well, it's December, there's probably not going to be any offers. And I was like, oh, you wait for this. 8 offers later and over asking. And like, that's summertime stuff, you'd think.
Usually, yeah. And so yeah, I think that definitely is one of the factors that may have driven the continued warm or hotness of the market. And the other is people panicking over these mortgage rules and trying to rush in and lock down their properties before that happens. So just kind of using that as the preface towards what does 2018 look like. I think that January, February, March, as long as we don't have the mildest winter ever, I think we're going to see a severe contraction in what's going on. Now, whether that actually results in price drops or just the market cooling, and you being able to be strategic and kind of snipe off deals and you can really read the situation appropriately, or whether it's going to be just broadly deals everywhere, I'm not sure. That being said, barring a large global catastrophe, I do think that we're going to have another very hot spring and summer, just because it just seems that way. I don't know what's going to drive it otherwise. We often talk about the 401 corridor effect, and so the idea is that what happens in Toronto, happens in Kitchener-Waterloo 3 to 6 months later, and what happens in Kitchener-Waterloo happens to us, 6 months to a year later.
And it's not speculating. This is like strategic real estate investing. If all goes to plan and the bullet train does come, that's 7 years away. How many of your mortgages have renewed in 5 years already?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that your first property, you're like, oh, I can't wait for my first refinance. Those years come up quick. 7 years away.
Time passes faster than you
Start buying your properties southwest of Toronto right now until 2025. Because when we get a bullet train that zips you to Toronto, I feel that's
if that does happen, and it seems highly likely, simply because the 401 corridor again is one of the most heavily traveled highways in North America. It makes sense. If we have that transit where you're able to get from London, Ontario to Toronto's airport in 71 minutes, that's a big deal.
60 to the airport.
Oh, and 71 downtown.
11 more minutes downtown.
Yeah, okay.
Because you probably have to get your luggage off with the train.
Sure. But so that's massive, right? That's very powerful. And so
everybody's going to say we're lucky in 2025.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think what we're saying here is, who knows what happens next year? Who knows what happens the year after that? But long term, we're definitely still bullish on the city of London, Ontario. We also have a lot of large institution employers, a lot of government employment, so that definitely helps.
These are the things you want to study as a real estate investor,
And same with that train that we're talking about. And 2030 is going to be hitting Chatham and Windsor, and I think those are going to be two extremely interesting markets as well. Chatham's getting all kinds of awesome things. Not Grand Bend. But, so...
Yeah, well, what Matt's saying is, if you really want, get ahead of the curve and jump ahead of London and go to Chatham and Windsor, right?
Yeah, because honestly, the moment we get 100% confirmation that that's happening, that's going to drastically change the midterm outlook. So the next 5 to 10 year outlook on what property is going to do along this 401 corridor, I truly believe will drastically change if they implement this high-speed rail. So, cool. Anyways, if you're still watching this point, heaven smash that like button. I mean, WTF, smash that like button right now. If you're not subscribed, hit that beautiful subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to Jeff Weibull, go over to youtube.com/Jeff Weibull, and let's see if we can get him to 500 subs before the end of the year. And I'd love to hit 5,000, so that's why I need you guys to share this video on social media. And if you hated this video, just share your favorite video of mine on social media. Rather than just Spike giving me
and maybe share it to somebody in your network that should be watching this, oh, maybe that guy would like this. Right?
Share it. Who do you talk to about, or who do you talk with about money? Who do you talk with about your ideas on your side hustles, your rental properties, your dreams of rental properties? Share my videos with them, guys. I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, I think that makes as much sense. So if you're coming out to the Limo tour, we'll see you this Sunday. Come early, get on the On Fire podcast. If you're not familiar with the On Fire podcast, jump over to Google Play, Stitcher, or iTunes, where you can subscribe to us and hear us talk about financial independence, retire early. Otherwise, until next time, I'm Matt McKeever. This is
Jeff Weibull.
And remember, making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money out there for us to all make it. But if you're not saving it, what's the point? Thanks, guys. Bye.